Welcome to the Pencil Bob channel. I hope you enjoy the story. Remember to like and subscribe. And now the story.
This happened several years ago, and is a multi-year-long story. I'll keep it as succinct as possible. We installed cameras in front of our home that were looking at our vehicles. Part of the camera angles did overlook parts of two neighbors' properties, one backyard and one side yard. The cameras were battery operated and had a function where you could gray out areas that you didn't want to film. When motion occurred in the grayed out areas, the cameras would not be activated to film. The neighbors' entire properties and several bushes on our property were grayed out. We did this when installing them. One of the neighbors was a friend, and had no issues with this whatsoever. We showed her the camera angle, and she said she didn't care whether or not we grayed out that area. We still left it grayed out over battery life concerns. The other neighbor's name was Karen, not really, but we all know why I chose that name. Karen was on the HOA board and, as you can imagine, we didn't get along with Karen or the HOA board. We told Karen about the camera and showed her the grayed out areas at the same time that we told our friendly neighbor about it. It was simply an FYI conversation. We are not on friendly terms, not an asking permission conversation. She told us to take the cameras down immediately or we would regret it. About a week after we hung the camera up, we got a notice from our HOA that we were violating the bylaws. The bylaw in question? A nuisance to your neighbors bylaw. There wasn't a specific bylaw preventing placement of cameras, so this is all they could find to try to punish us. We responded with a letter detailing how we were not violating any bylaws or laws in general, and asked them to cease and desist. We all know how these stories go though. They did not cease, and they did not desist. Their first response? The HOA has the right to enforce these bylaws. Try to stop us, if you think you can. These types of responses were, unfortunately, quite common from this board. We entered this battle with one goal in mind: to cost them as much money and time as possible. The HOA hired a lawyer specifically to fight us. To my knowledge, this has not happened to any other residents. In the following 4 months we ended up costing the HOA over $4,000 in lawyers' fees fighting this battle. For reference, the entire HOA income was $25,000 a year. When it came time for our official HOA hearing over the matter, we had successfully postponed it, thanks to an attorney friend, 3 separate times. There were over 100 back and forth emails with the HOA attorney and ourselves. Each one of those emails was a 15-minute expense for the HOA, and I was happy to follow up a follow-up question with another follow-up question if it meant the HOA attorney was going to keep billing them. Did I say, follow up, enough times? We didn't actually want to take this battle to court, so we ended up removing the cameras the day of the hearing, to prevent being fined, even if the fine wouldn't hold up in court. The HOA decided in the hearing that we were guilty, surprise, surprise, of violating the bylaw. They couldn't fine us, as the bylaws don't allow a fine until after a hearing has been held, and the cameras were already removed. In the end, the punishment was a sternly written piece of paper on the attorney's letterhead, delivered via certified mail, that stated that we were not allowed to place a camera on our home that had the potential to invade a neighbor's privacy. Keep in mind, the letter specifically stated the camera could not be placed on our home. We left the cameras off of the home for about 4 months, until the annual HOA meeting. You should have seen the look on the HOA board's faces when I asked them to explain the 4,000 line item for attorney's fees that simply stated, title searches, attorney fees. The board actually tried to hide the fact that they spent $4,000 trying to fight us over a couple of cameras by putting the fees in as title searches. Needless to say, that meeting did not go well for them. About half of them lost their positions on the board. The other half, including Karen, unfortunately, remained on the board. About a week after the annual meeting, we installed new cameras, facing the same direction as the prior cameras, only this time, we installed a post in the ground and mounted the cameras to that post. The admonishment we received after the hearing specifically stated that we were not allowed to install cameras on our home, and said nothing about putting them on a post. They did send a letter to try to tell us to remove the cameras, but a sternly worded response indicating that we were prepared to fight them actually worked this time around. I guess they didn't want to spend another $4,000 fighting us. We didn't receive any follow-up responses. And the cameras on the post are still installed to this day, over 2 years and running strong. Rented a house in a HOA. It wasn't too bad, just normal stuff. But every now and then some board members would tool around and hand out fines for dirty driveways and such. Wouldn't have cared if the president and a board member didn't live on the same street as me, and their driveways were in massive disrepair. The board member's son did some work on his truck and there was a massive oil spill, partly covered with a red towel that sat there for 8 months. While a few rust-colored streaks on our concrete was worthy of a fine. The funniest was when the HOA decided to install very aggressive speed bumps. The ones that were there previously were fine. Graded to not be too jarring but required you slow down. The only accident that occurred while we were there was the spouse of a HOA board member driving drunk and plowing into a tree. But there were always notices and mailings for people to slow down as this is not a racetrack. I guess they felt adding in a couple of literal asphalt curbs in the middle of the street would show people who dared to drive over 10 miles per hour on the main road. The only way over these things without feeling like you were going to break something on your car was to ease up the first side. Come to a complete stop. Then slowly ease down the drop. Once for the front wheels, another for the rear. Some people had just taken to driving on the grass around them, so they put up concrete barriers there. After a few weeks, someone decided to pour diesel fuel on the speed bumps the day before the garbage trucks did their rounds. The speed bumps got completely destroyed. The HOA reinstalled the bumps, and somehow made them even more aggressive. And a week later, Captain Diesel struck again. They yanked them out again, and just paved over the holes. It was beautiful. They did end up installing speed bumps a few months later, but they went with the stock plastic ones that bolt to the street. Which was much more preferable to the man-made cliffs of Dover that were there previously. HOAs just suck, and here are a few examples of why. Got fined $35 for keeping my daughter's bike on the front steps during the day. Got fined $35 for sidewalk chalk, in a neighborhood full of effin' families. Got fined $35 for a potted tomato plant on my back porch. Had to fight a $35 charge that said I brought in a drink other than water to the community pool, even though there's always someone there and no one ever said a word to me. I was told by the office it's because I brought a water bottle in that wasn't clear, and they couldn't confirm I only had water in it. They dropped the charge on my account, but because it took 3 weeks for me to get a hold of anyone, I wasn't able to use the pool for those 3 weeks. They've raised our HOA fees every single year we've been here. It's effin' outrageous. They've threatened to charge every single dog owner in the complex if they find more dog poop on the lawn. I get it's disgusting, but what the F? I'm not in kindergarten. That shit does not fly. The icing on the cake is when they sent out a message a month into lockdown telling us they would be going around inspecting, and any violations would receive fines. Their examples included 1. Having more than one chair on your front steps. 2. Keeping bikes on your back porch. 3. Keeping your recycling bins on your front steps. 4. Chalk drawings. During a effin' pandemic, HOAs suck and exist to suck money from you. I've literally had landlords who give me more freedom than my HOA. I hate them and will never, ever again be a part of one. It sucks because I love my neighborhood and the people in it, but the management company can suck my D. I'm a student working part-time. I currently only make enough to pay my mortgage and eat. I own a small condo. About 350 sqft of my condo was affected by sewage backup. This included my HVAC furnace, repairs still ongoing but does not need to be replaced, bathroom vanity, washer, dryer, did not need to be replaced, 2 closet doors, the bathroom door, and bottom kitchen cabinets. About 30 square feet of porcelain tile was replaced in bathroom and about 300 square feet of LVP flooring was replaced. I do not know the cost of repairs because all vendors went through management company. My condo unit flooded with sewage backup after the association used a plumber who removed my toilet to access a clog. He was unable to get to the clog and told me he'd return in 2 days with a camera. The plumber then reseated the toilet without using a new rubber plug thing. Emergency plumber who came after told me this led to the flooding. I flooded with sewage as my neighbor ran their shower. I took no pictures because I was attempting to contain the water and was also banging on my neighbor's door to try to get her to stop running her bath. There is an email from the management company in which they state that the annual rotting had not happened. I believe I would not have flooded had they kept up with scheduled maintenance. The affected pipe is a common element. The management company told me the association would cover the cost of repairs to my unit and scheduled with a company. Most of the work is complete. I received no estimates and did not choose contractors. Everything went to the management company and the board. Last week, the management company told me that the association's insurance will cover the cost of the plumber, the drywall, and primer for the drywall. I am responsible for everything else: the tear up, clean up, flooring, bathroom tiles, bathroom vanity, paint, doors, etc. I do not have a sewage backup policy with my insurance, so I'm out of luck on that end. I had specifically asked about coverage many times before agreeing to let anyone work on my unit. They told me their insurance would pay. I got a lawyer friend to help me draft a letter presenting a timeline of events. She is not experienced in housing. I sent the letter via email as a draft stating that I wanted a resolution and not legal action. They responded with a formal letter from their attorney. The attorney points out that my declaration states that each unit owner waives and releases all claims that they might have against the association. I was told by the association's lawyer that regardless of why the flood happened, I am responsible for what their insurance does not cover. That might be true. My insurance agent suggested I make a claim onto the association's policy against their claim, presenting the email in which they admit not completing the annual rotting. I don't know if I am allowed to do this, based on the part of the declaration mentioned above. I am also worried that I will have to pay the fee for the lawyer the association used to relay information via a letter. I live in Ill. I am a student and currently working part-time. I don't have much money. The declaration and bylaws are unclear. I don't know if this is the case. I am considering going after the first plumber's insurance but don't know if I can without PICs or anything. I had asked the management company to do this, multiple times, in writing, when the situation happened. Their lawyer just told me it'd be my responsibility to pursue this. I have no plumber notes or contact info. I need to figure everything out. Am I financially screwed?
I would like to thank you for watching the video to the end. To encourage us to make more videos, please like, subscribe, comment, as well as share. Check out this other video if you haven't already.